That's the original 20.
Were they British waterways fish, do you think? They look very similar.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But they are nice fish.
Your headwear was pretty
Oh,
incredible.
I got some good hats. That's Stoney's. Long time ago. That's Chrysler.
These are going to be lynched now, are they? In this
Could
period?
be. I'm not sure, to be honest. That's the first one I caught off. First 20 off the top. That one. That's Pit one. That's Horton.
Which one's that?
That's Merlin.
That's Merlin, is it?
No, Cracker. That's Merlin.
That's Merlin, right. Were you there for the originals then, ideally? Or
Yeah, well, it's just one of them. It's just, you know, it's like...
Because these got a lot bigger, didn't
Oh
they?
yeah, that's Hercules, that is. No, it's just iconic water and you get offered the ticket. It's like, oh, I think I'll have some of that. That's Stoney's.
Catfish?
Yeah.
That's got to be Horton.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the only thing with my photos, they're all mixed up.
Not that bad though. I was kind of, oh my word. 12, look at him. Is that the same fish but you've decided to put him on a mat?
He's not escaped the mat that time. I might have been sat on the mat.
Where's that from then?
Beetles.
And what is this?
That's off a
Is that
chair.
Oh, it's off a chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another 12.
Yeah, first fish, second fish. Yeah.
Right, Lee, we've just been perusing your photo album, and actually on the way up here I was thinking the same thing. I don't know how the heck we're going to get through it all, but it almost seems impossible, the amount of big fish that you've caught, the venues you've been to, and the over, I don't know, what is it, last 20 years or so?
Yeah.
When did you first start sort of travelling the scene for carp?
Pretty quick, really. But I probably didn't start carp fishing until probably late 90s, and within a couple of years I started travelling straight away, sort of thing. It was just one of them things you had to do. Obviously you couldn't access some waters, and other waters you could by travelling, so that's what I did.
Am I right in thinking did you get into it quite late by some?
Yeah, late, yeah. I used to go and sit with my mates, and I was an outdoor person anyway, shooting and ferreting and stuff like that, and I used to sit with them, and I thought, oh, this is a bit of me, get into this, and got into it and just went full bore into it, really. Before I knew it, I was flat out doing it, you know.
What was it you saw in what they were doing that what particularly about carp fishing was the thing that you thought you could enjoy?
I think it was just about being outside, really. I don't think it's much about catching. It's just the whole aspect of it, you know, sat out there, just, you know, just being outside.
And is that something that was sort of in you? Because you mentioned earlier off camera that your dad's quite an outdoors.
Yeah, certainly, yeah.
What sort of influence did he have in terms of making you an outdoor person?
I don't know, really. It's just hunting and stuff like that, and it's obviously gone into me, and I wanted to hunt things, and that's why I got into the fishing as well. It's the same sort of thing, and you know.
And tell us a little bit about the scene that was around in Leicester. We should point out you live in Leicester, and you've lived in Leicester your whole life.
Yeah.
What was it like? What kind of waters did you have at your disposal when you started?
Well, we had quite a few waters, but it's whether you could actually get on them as well. So obviously you only went to the ones you could get to and get on. And once you caught a few 20s and finally caught your first 30 or something, then you wanted more. So it's just a case of that, really.
Now, catching a few 20s and your first 30 sounds very easy when you say it, but presumably it wasn't.
No. There was hard waters. And obviously, you know, we didn't have no money or whatever. So a lot of single hook bait fishing or overnighters, and, you know, it's not like you could fill in with bait like these people, because you couldn't afford to do it anyway. So
well, we're talking quite famous waters, because I mean, as much as there wasn't a lot of waters, the waters that were up in this area, the likes of Murphy's, you know, Sean Harrison had written extensively about them. They were well known, weren't they? Yeah,
they're well known. Yeah, they were like your top waters, really.
Did that mean that you had a lot of lads trying their hand there for these bigger fish?
Yeah, there was a lot of good anglers on there, and obviously you're there, you're fishing, and I was very naive to it all, but obviously I was watching them and learning off them and picking the brains and just picking bits up, and obviously it's all...
What were the sort of things that you learnt from them, and also what was it about you that made you pick it up quickly?
I don't really know. I think it's just the hunter side of me. and enjoying it really, because obviously it's all about enjoying it. You know, it's I didn't want to sit there bored or anything like that, and it's just one of them. It's just drive, isn't it? You know, people would be like thinking, "Oh, you're mad going there and doing this." It's just what I wanted to do.
I kind of imagine that quite quickly you'd have moved from a position where you were going for a social to a position where you were like, nah, so I guess I'm going to move on to fishing.
Yeah, very, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of time I was on my own. You know, I'd just go on my own. I'd join places and people say, "Oh yeah, they're going to go and all that," and then they end up not going. I've paid X amount for a ticket, and I think, well, I'm going to go on my own. You know, I want to go there, so I'm going to go there. Certainly out of my depth, and certainly a bit worried about it. You know, because obviously seeing all these top anglers, and you're thinking, "Oh God," I'm like, you know, you feel intimidated and everything. But I just cracked on with it, and then obviously later on, you just get your own respect, don't you?
And what were you doing back then? Like, looking back at the young Lee Petty, what would you say about you as an angler when you started out? What were you up to? What kind of rigs? What kind of baits? What kind of
just basic rigs, really. Just knotless, just simple stuff. I mean, you'd have the same hook on for weeks. You know, you wouldn't be bored about that. You just like getting it out. You know, you'd probably lose a fish or something. You hook them snaps or something, but. So all about learning, isn't it? You know, if no one's actually telling you, so you're sort of like doing it yourself. It weren't all wrote about what you got to do and all this, that, and the other.
Does that mean that you quickly sort of outgrew the mates that you initially went with, or did they come along with you?
No, not necessarily. No, not at all. But we all went about on his travels. We were all keen, but it's just we're all on different waters as well. And obviously, you couldn't just jump straight on the other water. You'd have to wait to get on the other water. So there was a few of us all on different waters.
Can we talk about some of these waters in detail, Lee? A little bit, maybe a bit about, because they're so significant. You've got waters like Murphy's, Beadles, the Sandpit you mentioned, Charney.
Sandpit,
talk to us about what they were like.
Well, just a lot of there was a lot of good waters. You know, certainly the better ones was things like Davo's, which is on Winston's complex. And Sandpit and Murphy's. That's
what kind of
ski lake.
What kind of challenges did they present? Like, what was the fishing like?
Murphy's was hard anyway, and obviously you had water skis going up and down on it, so it's always a bit frustrating when you have to wait for them.
And what was the kind of key to success on Murphy's, or what did you?
I don't really know why I had the success on there, what I did, but I think what I put it down to is because a lot of it I was like single up bait fishing a lot of the time, purely because I never had the money for the bait. And I think a lot of times just, I mean, sometimes I've been in swims and it's not like I saw fish like you would do now, or even if you knew you was on fish. But I think it's the fact that if I was on them, how I was fishing for them, the fish were there feeding anyway. And because you ain't got a load of bait out, I'll probably picking them off that way. I don't really know, to be honest. Obviously I had success and picked off the right fish.
And were these like what we'd consider single up bait tactics by today's standards, like bright pop-ups on?
Yeah, they were. Yeah. I used to catch on like orange pop-ups and stuff like that back then.
What we're talking? Any particular classics?
Yeah, there would have been peach and tangerine Mistrals.
Oh, really?
That was my favourite. Yeah, I used to love them. Yeah, all crab and crawfish.
Right.
Yeah.
Not ones that spring to mind as like, you know,
No.
we're not talking pineapples or Scopex.
No, they come later, didn't they? Right. Yeah.
And you were getting them off tackle shop, going straight.
Yeah, just buy them from tackle shop. Yeah, and you'd dry them out and put them back in the pot as you do.
Oh, really?
Use them again.
Well,
yeah,
that is super. I mean, presumably allowed you to be super mobile because you've got
Plus on there you could drive around it, so it wasn't like you got to wrap up and barrow. But you know, if you did fancy a move, you would just, not that you moved that much. I did a lot of overnighters there as well, you know. So every time I'm doing an overnighter, I'm turning up fresh, you know. So. And
when you were fishing for these fish, presumably you were aware of like the big one in the lake, you know, fish like sub. You know, they were fish you had a targeting mentality. Even then.
There was like Arthur and the sub, and I caught Arthur, but then they ended up putting the ticket up to what I could afford, and I thought, I said to my mate about it, and he says, you'll be able to go back one time, you know what I mean? And sure enough, later on, years later, I went back for it and caught it anyway. So.
And did you find that the things you were doing had changed in the meantime?
Yeah, because when I went back, I was totally different angler and fished a different way. It's
nice to draw a line under that water when you caught the sub?
yeah, because when I went back, I caught a lot of other fish as well. I had caught quite a few out of there, and I caught a lot of other fish that are the good fish, you know what I mean? So along the way of catching the sub, and it did elude me, that fish, and it was like one of them fish where it had always come out like at a weekend or something. If I weren't fishing at a weekend, I was just doing overnighters in the week, and I couldn't catch it. It'd always come out on a Saturday or something like that, you know what I mean? And anyway, I couldn't catch it, and I was off work this time, and I thought, oh, I'm going down there. Sure, I've had a couple of fish and then caught it in a day. Anyway, gone back work and everything, and later on that week done an overnighter and caught it again. It's like, you can't make it up, can you?
When you look back, do you think actually that the Leicester scene was probably better then than it is now? Definitely better then, and certainly before my fishing, because you had some of them were like mega waters, but then they just over time they started deteriorating, and fish started like dwindling away. And that presumably meant that before too long you had to consider travelling.
Not so much that. Some of it, like I started travelling, and once I started travelling, it was like I'm travelling. I was fishing for like a lot more bigger fish. I'd say you could go there, you could catch, and you probably catch more. Say you caught a few 30s, that's probably more than it's in a lake round our way. I mean, you look, if you had a 30, certainly a 30 common, you very rare round our way.
And take us back to those early travelling experiences, like. You work kind of life. Were you not working in the week and fishing weekends, or could you alternate?
No, I was just like, if I had work and everything, I was working, and it was just whenever I could fish, I'd be fishing.
So you could make time to fish.
Not so much. It just like if I had time, I'd be fishing.
And heading down there, loading the car and heading down for your first trips. Where were you headed down south?
First time I went down south would be Elstow Pit 2, which obviously was low stocked and hard water, so it wasn't like you're going to catch
really
a load.
throwing yourself in the deep end.
Yeah, it was the deep end, and all I was bothered about, my mate showed it me, and he was like right good angler and caught loads of fish. I've been doing it years, and he showed it me, and I wasn't bothered as long as it had 30s, and I was happy. It's like, oh, it's 100 and something quid, 140 quid. I'll have a ticket. You know what I mean? And he said to me, he says, you make me laugh. Says why? He says because it's January. It couldn't look no worse. It's blowing a northerly, northeasterly, and and he's like, it looks shit. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm just thinking, oh, I want to join it. It's brilliant. Yeah. So
I can't imagine your face when you chucked out in there the first time and the lead just didn't ever hit the bottom.
No, yeah. Well, obviously that was all new to me as well. But yeah, funnily enough, when I did catch my first one, it didn't take long to catch the first one. And when I did catch it, it was actually only in about 15 foot from the edge. So it's.
And how did you find the fishing on there? Like, were you able to get up close and personal with the fish?
Oh, mega! Yeah. They were coming in, and literally the wind would change, and they would go straight over the other side of the lake. It's like you'd be racing around there, and they would turn up. They were so mobile. Whether they'd stay is a different thing. You know what I mean? But they would move around dead quick. Seeing as only a low stop.
And do you think you did your early grounding in the mobile standard of angling and single hookbait fishing that stand you in good stead?
Not so much on there, because then I was fishing with someone that used bait and stuff like that, and I was getting steered towards fishing with bait, and so again, it wasn't like I just thought, yeah. It's only like when I look back and think, oh, that was down to my single hookbait fishing, why I caught them fish. You know what I mean? Whereas since I started going to these waters, I'm seeing like someone like how they use bait and seeing like, you know what I mean, how you do it and everything more than being such a amateur. I'm learning all the time.